Hey, what's going on, crew? Welcome to a special edition of the Pardon My Pancreas podcast. Today, I will be interviewing Kelly, who was a recent graduate of our high level type 1 diabetes coaching program. However, she doesn't have diabetes herself. This is actually a story about how her 6-year-old son Lucas was able to accomplish 95% for time in range while living his best life as a kid. So, we're jumping into their experiences, the methods that work specifically, and of course, actually, the honest and true thoughts, opinions, and experiences of Kelly as she walked through our program and also using our methodologies. So, without any further ado, we get into our theme song, and I know you're going to like this one, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the interview. I've spent the last 10 years pushing the limits while identifying trends and patterns in my type 1 diabetes management. Follow along as I learn, apply, and share the fitness, nutrition, and lifestyle strategies that I've learned from diabetes experts around the world. The real question is, how can we live fearlessly with diabetes while maintaining stable blood sugars? This podcast is here to give you the answer. My name is Matt Vandervecht, head coach and co-founder of FTF Warrior, and welcome to Pardon My Pancreas. All right, awesome. Well, I'm super excited to chat with you, Kelly, and of course about your son Lucas as well. Before we jump into like the whole interview, I'd love to give the audience kind of like some backstory on what it looks like. So obviously, it's not you, but it's your son that has diabetes. What is like the current situation as far as diabetes management? Is he MDI? Is he on shots? How many years has he had it? Can you give us kind of that backstory?
Yeah, so he was diagnosed at 12 months and he's 6, almost 7. So we've been doing it about 6 years. And he started off on MDI when he was little, and then he was on Medtronic when we started the program, and he was in auto mode. And then, which was super scary, we put him into manual mode to do the program. I was like, are you sure? Are you sure we should do this? And then near the end of the program, we switched to the DEX because we figured if we're in manual mode, it's cool. We can switch the CGM. And then he is now on Tandem, which I don't think he was in the program. So he's Tandem T-Slim with the Dexcom CGM.
Gotcha. And you mentioned the 6 years that you've been managing. What was that like initially? Because that's a very young age to be diagnosed. And we were just chatting about that. Was that a complete shocker and like the world's flipped upside down? Did you kind of just take it in stride?
How you mean when he was first diagnosed?
First, yeah.
Oh, it was brutal. It was pretty rough just because they thought, like, just initially they thought like he just had the flu. And then, I'd call and it was like all the same symptoms of when he had the flu, except no fever. And I know that now looking back, that's obviously a big scary thing not scary, but like I would have known what I know. If I know what I knew now, I would have immediately been like, something's up. It's not the flu. Because we kept calling and they're like, oh, he's got the flu. He's fine. Just keep him home. And I called my mom in California because we were in Washington at the time. And she's like, I think he has diabetes. And I'm like, there's no way. There's no way he has diabetes. It's not in the family. And I called the pediatrician back and I said, he's been wetting through his diaper. His crib is soaked. He's drinking a lot of water and he's vomiting. And he, at 10 months, was walking. And by 12 months old, he literally couldn't even hold himself up. Like he would collapse. And so we took him to the pediatrician. And honestly, his blood sugar was so high that they couldn't even read it at the pediatrician's office. And so they rushed him to the ER. And I mean, I'm not going to tell you how high he was, but it was bad. Like he was in severe DKA. And so, he was in the ICU for a while. And then they give you this crash course in the hospital thinking, we're going to, 3 days, we're going to learn how to manage a 12-month-old with type 1 diabetes, which, they were amazing, by the way. The hospital is incredible. The staff's amazing, but you can't learn in 3 months how to manage this disease. And so it was just hard, it was really hard. And then, the years, like everyone kept telling us his numbers were great, he would toggle between like 76% time in range. He had a one time an 88%, but it was tough. Like it took over our whole lives. So
Absolutely. And actually, with that, like I know we get a lot of parents that reach out of newly diagnosed children. Um, what was that like for you as a parent? I mean, assuming your lifestyle changed quite a bit, having to manage type 1 diabetes for your son, but I mean, what was that like for you?
Um, well, pretty much everything changed, right? So we had to make some big shifts. I stopped working. I ended up eventually working at my son's school because he wasn't going to be able to go there without someone present.
Mhm.
So I ended up actually working at the school, which ended up being like the biggest blessing, but at the time was a big frustration for me. But it ended up being incredible, to be honest. So yeah, I mean, it was pretty, it was pretty rough. And then we had another baby. So when Lucas was 2, we had his youngest brother, Spencer. So that was real tough having a 2-year-old with type 1 and a newborn baby. And so it was tough. I mean, it was, yeah, I'd always be like, oh, everything's okay. But like inside, just mentally, it was really hard. Really hard.
Wow. Yeah, especially at 2 with diabetes to introduce another baby.
Yeah.
Like, okay, let's
Everyone's
juggle.
like, they're all like, don't get pregnant right away because you've got enough on your plate. And
Right.
I remember like having a really rough day with diabetes, and I knew I was pregnant at this point. And I had
Oh,
really, really rough pregnancies. Like I was sick all 9 months, like
oh man.
very sick. And I remember talking to my parents just bawling because I was so sick and I had such a rough day with, they didn't know I was pregnant. And
Oh.
they're like, whatever you do, like, don't get pregnant right away. I was like, oh my God.
Oh my
It all
goodness.
worked out, obviously,
Yeah.
the best. But yeah, it was just a really, I mean, your life shifts, right? I mean, even as
Mhm.
a parent with not a child with diabetes, parenting's hard.
Yeah. Very different.
A lot of scary nights, like, you know,
Mhm.
in his crib, I just remember like going off and being like 44 with 3 arrows down and me rushing into my baby's crib, just, on the phone with the hospital at 2 o'clock in the morning. Just, it was tough. But
Absolutely. And you
yeah.
mentioned the tough days with diabetes. What does that look like for you? Is it just ups and downs? Is it unpredictability in those
Yeah,
first
I
few
think
years?
it was just like getting on that roller coaster, right?
Mhm.
And not knowing how we got there. I mean, we did, you rage bolus or I always would overtreat the lows. Like that was a big thing for me. Like,
Mhm.
you don't want your child going too low. That's so scary, right?
Absolutely.
So, and it was just the mental, like knowing like long term, like what this is doing to his body. And then the short term with the lows, like it just, it was really tough. It was really tough. And the sports, right? Like we're super active people. He's very athletic. We're not going to stop him from playing sports, and we want him to like live his life just like every little boy. Like that's
Hmm.
such a big part for us. Like we're big hikers, bikers. I run, he bikes with me. Like we don't want diabetes to like stop him from doing any of those things, right? So yeah.
Absolutely. And fast forward a couple years, he's getting more active. Age 3, 4,
Right.
5. So before you jumped into the program with us, like what were you having a hard time with diabetes management?
um well, lows, right?
Hmm.
So sport, like too much time in the office, not less time, not enough time in the classroom. Like I hate that he's missing out on whatever it is they're doing. Birthday parties were tough. I'm always like, I hate birthday parties because it's pizza, it's cake, it's constant, unpredictable running. When you think about it, diabetes like structure. A 6-year-old does not have a structured life. He's not sitting at a desk, which even comes with its own set of challenges, right? He is 2 hours of nonstop running, pizza, ice, like all, just so that I don't remember what your question was, but that was I think you asked like the challenges, but
Yeah.
lows, right? So I'm jumping all over the place, but we had a really bad low before I reached out to you. And that was like one of the triggering things to actually finally bite the bullet and reach out to you because it was so bad.
Wow. And what was that like for you, if you don't mind sharing?
So I had actually had surgery, just to rewind. I had surgery, and that's how I found out about you, because I'm always like outside doing activities, but I was forced to walk on the treadmill for rehab, and I was so bored. So I was just searching through the internet, and for whatever reason, I'm sure it's algorithms or whatever, but you just kept popping up. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to watch these little videos and figure out what this person's about and see if he has some wisdom for me. And I liked what you had to say, and actually like watched your videos for like months, like literally months. And I was like, I'm gonna reach out to him. I'm gonna reach out to him and see. I'm a super skeptical person, so I'm like, I don't know. This is a stranger. I'm not really sure if I can trust, what. And it was all adults too. Like I never saw like a 6-year-old boy. And so I kept pushing it off. And then we were at the pumpkin patch with his cousins and his brother and his aunt. And he had so like with him, he can feel his lows now. But this was like I can read his body language really well now because I'm so in tune. I feel like I'm his pancreas. Like I'm so in tune with him. Yeah. That I instantly knew, and the CGM was fine. Like it was such a fast drop that like it hadn't caught it, but he ended up like on the ground at the pumpkin patch, like couldn't speak. It was so bad, and I had to put him in the wheel. Like they had these wheelbarrows. Like I had to put him in the wheelbarrow because like he couldn't walk. It was just really bad. It was really scary. It was really bad. I'm like, enough is enough. Like I gotta find a better way to handle this disease. And so I reached out to you, and the rest is history.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't have the same parental instincts the first time I heard that story. And right now my body is just lighting up. Like, yeah. I can't imagine what that was like.
It was bad because he was scared too, right? Like you could see it in his eyes that he knew something was really wrong with him. Mm-hmm. And he's like, he toughs through everything. Like he'll just be like, oh, I'm good. I can do this. Like they were all about to go on a ride. He's like, he literally couldn't even speak. And he's like, he wasn't even like fighting to try to participate. Right. And yeah, no, it's bad. So we reached out to you and you changed our lives.
Oh my goodness. And I remember that call too. We had a chat about him being 6 and being the youngest client that I had taken on at that point. It was like, okay, just so you know, like we're going to be working pretty closely together on this. And oh my goodness, like you said, the rest is history. But I mean, was that like the moment that you're like, this is the guy, or is it like, hey, depending on how the call goes and
I had to talk. I had to talk to you for sure. Right? Because I didn't even know diabetes coaches existed. Like I didn't even know there was a better way of living with this disease. I thought I just needed to micromanage him, and like this was my life, and this is how it was going to be, and it was going to take over everything in my life, and we'll get through it. And I just figured that's how it's going to be. But no, we talked to you, and I don't know what it was on the call, but I mean, maybe just like realizing you're real or something. I don't know. But as parents, like you'll do whatever you can for your child. And I really just didn't want to see him like that again. So I took a chance. Yeah,
I can absolutely understand that. And as you did jump into the program, you took a chance, you dove in, as you mentioned. Like, was there a moment that stood out to you as like, hey, this is actually working for us? Like it's a real thing, or was like it just a whole process in general?
I knew it was real. I knew it was real once I got the first call. Yeah. I mean, that I knew. Like once I saw the community, figured all that out. But I think a big turning point for us was, or for me, with that the basal testing, like seeing him like pretty much 100% time in range, as I check his numbers right now. He's perfect. He's been 96% all day.
Holy cow.
Once I saw that, by and large, I mean, take sickness out of the equation and some like
Yeah.
things with his diabetes, that he was 100% time and range through the night. I mean, that was just, come on.
Mhm.
That was a big turning point. And then it was there's one call where I said, oh, it all clicks when I learned that roughly one unit drops him 40 points, half unit drops him 20. This pouch we give him raises him 42 points. And then with the exercise, he needed 15 carbs for 30 minutes of intense like aerobic activity would keep him steady. That was huge, right? So all those things, like those alone are just like game changers for us.
Yeah. Like the formula, like the equation side clicked where it's like,
Yeah.
oh, it's like there's logic behind diabetes. It's
Yeah.
not just a mess of blood sugars.
Yeah, exactly. And it made it predictable,
That's huge. And was that impactful on like the confidence that you were able to have in letting him do his thing, or what was that like for you?
Oh yeah. I mean, literally everything I've done in this program has changed my life. I tell every person that will listen to me about this program. I have met okay, for me though, like just mentally, like I've gotten so much peace from this, and I have more time with my son Spencer. This is all very emotional for me, to be honest. I mean, this is our lives. Like, this is my son's life. Like, this just, I don't know. Yeah. I mean, it's given me my life back, and it's made me know that Lucas can have a good life, that he's going to be healthy. And I don't know, it's hard to say, it's hard to like put into words something that's changed your life, but it just has changed every aspect. Like, it's given me confidence. Like, he's at school now and he's almost like 100% time and range at school. And this is with recess and PE, and he participates in not all, because there's a lot of birthdays, but like almost every it's hard because I need to be there for the birthdays at the end of the day to like give that little treat they get, because I weigh it out and stuff. But it just lets me know. I can hear my son calling me, that he's gonna have a good life, and that he's not gonna suffer long-term complications from this, and he can confidently go to school and he can feel good. He feels good, because it was a fluke, but when we changed to the new pump, he was on a different infusion set and he kept getting kinks in the cannula. We've now switched to True Steel, but he kept getting kinks, and I'm like, his blood sugar was like through the roof, and I'm like, what is going on? Like, this isn't us. Like, this isn't. And he felt it, because he's not high like that anymore,
Oh, wow.
So his body, like, he felt it, and I could tell. And he said he felt sick. He never says that to me, but it's because his body's so accustomed to being in range,
Right. So has he literally told you he feels better, or is this like you're noticing from your motherly perspective? Or
yeah, it's tough, right? Because he's sick, so
right.
That's tough, and he's lived with this his whole life. But yeah, no, he hasn't. I think he's noticed that we go to brunch now and he has chocolate chip pancakes, and he still stays in range the rest of the day. Like, come on.
My goodness.
Is that not amazing? He has bacon, chocolate chip pancakes, and he goes to a birthday party and he has the pizza and he has the cake, and he runs around for 2 hours and he stays in range the entire time.
That is amazing. I love hearing that.
Incredible.
That fills me with so much joy just hearing these stories, and that he gets to live his life, and not be held back by diabetes. That's amazing. And I mean, of course, he doing what you say is able to do this, and you putting the work in, but that is incredible to hear. So he's running around eating the good foods, being a kid essentially, right? Birthday parties and school and all that. What has this changed for you? I mean, you mentioned peace of mind is a big component of that, but Yeah, what's that look like before versus now? Is it all mindset? Does it free you up to, like, I don't know, have a hobby or anything like that?
I am working on starting a company, so yes, it has given me time to do stuff.
Oh my goodness, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so no, for sure. Just I don't know if we discussed the numbers, but like that to me, like to know that he went from before the call 70, before we joined your program, 76% time in range, and now even with being sick for 4 months, like he was 92% time in range, even during that sickness. And now he's not like right now he's 96, but over like since he's been healthy, he's like 95% time in range. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. 6.2 for his A1C, and it was 7.6.
Oh wow.
Um, Average blood sugar is 123. I mean, that's pretty
Holy
good.
cow.
And we have like flat lines. I mean, yeah,
Oh
sometimes
no.
we still get it's diabetes, right?
Sure.
But
No
like,
one's perfect, yeah.
it's like flat. I'm looking at it right now, this like little flat, not like we're not seeing mountains.
Right. Oh my
Um,
goodness.
so that to me, I am such a type A personality. So I'm a perfectionist
Hmm.
and can't perfect diabetes. And so that was mentally been really tough for me. That was really, it still is, right? I mean, I'm still not, I am who I am. But yeah, the mental aspect. And then that time with my son Spencer has been huge because
Mm.
I had so much guilt over like so much going towards Lucas.
Mm.
Um, and Tuesday, Thursday, my younger son doesn't go to school. And so I have that time with him and I get to have that time with him. I mean,
Oh
that's
wow.
that's stuff I won't get back because eventually it's gonna be 5 days a week. And so, I mean, that was a big thing I told you or I wrote was that I wanted more time with my younger son.
Mhm.
So that's changed. And then, yeah, just knowing that my son's gonna be okay, that we're gonna be okay, and that I can work and not have a life. I mean, I know I've been jumping all over the place, but his graduation, he went from running for an hour with his friends to a pancake breakfast to a 6 mile bike ride, 100% time and range. I mean, I
Oh,
keep saying that. I mean that's insane. I mean, we're talking about a 6-year-old little boy who runs for 8 hours a day, and he eats really well now. He eats what we eat for dinner, but he can go have that fun time with his friends. Like if they're, we just have to plan, right? I do plan, so that's a big part. Like I pre-plan, like I do weigh out his little pancakes when he eats them, so I know, right? I want to have that peace of mind knowing that after we have this brunch, he's gonna be cool. Like I don't have to worry about a huge spike or a big drop.
mhm.
And then the fats and proteins, like I didn't know anything about that, so that changed a lot for us too. That was huge. So that was a big thing. I mean, literally everything, everything in the program. Just tell people everything that you put in that program is going to change their life.
Oh, I love that. Especially as you mentioned, like he's a 6-year-old kid, right? Like the running around, the unpredictability, the appetite, like all these things. And the fun part for me is I get to say, if a 6-year-old can do it and his mom, anyone can do it, right? Like it's not this
Right.
huge mystery. It's just do these 3 things, these 4 things, plan it out, like you said, right? If you know what you're doing, you get to do fun things, and it just kind of maps out. So that
And it's
is
hard work. I mean, the program was hard
yes.
work. Like basal testing for us, anyone,
Mm-hmm.
let alone a 6-year-old. I mean, literally asking him to skip a lunch at school. I mean, it wasn't fun. But if you can dedicate this time for a better life, why not?
100%. And I'm glad that you brought that up, right? It's not just like, oh, everything's magic now.
Yeah.
It's like,
No,
no, there was work put in, absolutely.
totally.
But you guys were willing to do that. And that's what made this possible, right? You did put the work in. Um, and, kind of looking back at beforehand where you were before you jumped into the program, still kind of watching the videos online, right? What would you tell someone who is currently in that spot where, they're kind of peeking around, trying to figure out how to fix diabetes? Maybe they're on the fence for joining. What are your thoughts for them? What advice would you give?
I would just say that I was really skeptical just because that's who I am. I'm not going to see something online and trust that it's going to really change my life. I will say though, watching the people's videos about telling their story, that really, to me, that was a big part, because I'm like, they seem like they're telling the truth. they, seem, they seem like something's going. There's got to be something here. I would just tell them that there's just a better way. Like, even if like we were told, and I still love his endo that we used to go to, telling us that our numbers were great. Like I do believe, I just think we've seen a better way. And so even though we were told we were doing so well, I felt like I was just struggling so much inside. Like, I felt like I was dying inside. Like, I just felt like at any moment I was going to break, because I was so stressed and I was just so sick of that roller coaster. And that's a stressful thing to be on. It's stressful. So I would just tell him that you got to just take a chance, because as skeptical as I was, I mean, Matt is legit. His program is legit. He's type 1 himself. Like, you know what it's like. You created this program for type 1s, and you know, the community itself is big. Like, that community that we're a part of, like being on those coaching calls, like I look forward to that every twice a week. Like, that was time, even though I wasn't a diabetic, and I always made that clear, because I never wanted people to think that I knew what it was like to be a diabetic, because I don't.
You kind of do, though. I mean, not to live in the body, but you manage it.
Yeah, I feel like I live and breathe it. But just like people accepting me into the program was huge, and supporting me, and I, you know, reaching out to people even outside of the program, like that's huge. Like, having those people to bounce ideas off of. And then, you know, the fact that, you know, my son's life is going to be changed forever, like, should speak volumes to anybody. You know, I mean, he's too young to realize what this program's done to him. He can't comprehend that, right? But I can. And I know, like, yeah, I mean, I've said it a couple times. It's just, yeah, thank you for everything you've done, because my son's going to be healthy and he's going to live a good life, and he gets to do everything he wants to do, and he doesn't have to sit on the sidelines at sports anymore. You know, he gets to play his entire soccer, because we know how to do that now. And he gets to be in school, and yeah, he has to go and get checked and get insulin for his lunch and stuff, but he gets to be a kid, and that's because of you. So thank you.
Wow. I'm going to get choked up if you don't stop talking about that.
We changed our lives. You should know that. You changed our lives. Like, literally, Matt. Like, I've told so many people about you, and I hope to God they reach out to you, because I've talked to so many parents that are suffering, and their kids are suffering, and their blood sugars are like 350. And I've talked to a mom whose little boy had to stop going to high school, and he had to miss his entire school year, and he has to repeat it because he was so sick, because his numbers were so high. And it breaks my heart, because I know that there's a better way. But unless, you know, they reach out to you, it's like, can't force somebody, but you're the best. I'd work with you forever if I could. I mean, I guess we don't need you now, because we've learned, you know, so much, but yes, thank you for everything you've done for us.
Well, I love what you just ended on too. Like, we could work with you forever, but we don't need to. And I'm like, that's the point, right? Like, I'm so happy to hear that you don't need to, because my goal is to give you the tools, right? So you can thrive.
You know, I didn't want to say goodbye. You remember that? I was like, I don't want to leave.
I know. Oh my goodness. And I love that you are able just to take it and run with it, you know, whether he was sick and still in the 90 percentages. And then now, of course, even higher. It's amazing what you've been able to do. It speaks volumes to the dedication that you have as a parent but also as somebody who's taking care of another's diabetes. It's incredible to see the hard work that you poured into this. And, and you were on, I think, I could be wrong, but I think every single call that we offered.
Even with 103.5 fever.
Oh, that's right.
Because when I had COVID, I wouldn't put my camera on, but I was so sick. And I'm like, I will be on this call.
Yep, you crushed it. I mean, it is absolutely amazing, Kelly, watching all the work you put in, the accomplishments you guys had. I mean, it really is a direct reflection of the work that you put in. The love that you have for your son. It's amazing to see that. And actually, speaking of kind of before and after, I know you mentioned numbers slightly. I think you said it was a 7.6 to a 6.2. Is that right?
Yep.
And then 76% time in range to now he's averaging at like 95. And you said something about his endo as well. I'm trying to remember what it was.
Oh, yes. Thank you for saying that. Because I wrote notes too, because I wanted to make sure I said everything.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, so we met his new endocrinologist because we just moved. And the hospital, the staff said that his numbers are the best of any of their patients. Their 6-year-old new patient. Oh, and he said, wow, he's like, your endo in the state we were living in must have been amazing. And I said, well, actually, he was amazing. Like, he broke my heart to leave him. Like, he managed, my husband always said he managed me as well as he managed our son, because I needed that. But I said, it's actually this guy named Matt. And he's like, who? I'm like, oh, Matt Vandebeck. And I told him all about your program, and he took notes.
Oh, wow.
And I always think that's so cool when I'll show people, they'll ask about if I meet another mom or dad, we'll just share stuff, and I'll show them Lucas's graph, and they're like, what? Because they're like, there's not like crazy highs and lows. I'm like, well, yeah, every now and then, of course, it's diabetes. Like,
right.
He's 6. Like, I can't, it's going to happen sometimes. And then I tell him about the program. And I just like, tell me more. And so I've literally, in 2 months, I have talked to 4 parents about your program. And I really hope they reach out, because if you don't have to suffer, don't.
Yeah, absolutely. That's incredible that you were able to share hope with them too, showing like, oh, look, this is what a graph can look like, right? Like, so many people aren't even aware that we can accomplish control and live our lives, right? So that's amazing that you get to be an inspiration.
I want to see what I think. And the craziest part is that 76% time in range, like, we worked really hard for that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm working way less for 95.
Really?
Oh my God, like, way less. I plan, because then but it's not that bad. Like, I research, I go on MyFitnessPal, I look up chocolate chip pancakes. If we're going out for brunch, bring my little scale, weigh it, he eats. We pre-bolus, we eat. That's not very much work. I was doing that before. But anyways, yeah, so it's just a lot more work for a lot better results.
A lot less
I put the work in. I put a lot less work. What did I say?
Yeah,
more?
you did more work, better results.
I put the work in the program.
Yep.
Yes, a lot less work for better results, which that's amazing.
Wow. That's incredible, Kelly. Oh my goodness. And I know you keep mentioning like, oh, the notes, and I forgot to say this. I want to open it up just in case. Like, do you have anything else that you want to add, or you think somebody else should hear from someone who's gone through the program?
Yeah, no, just do it, because I think I said everything. I have like a whole thing I wrote out, but I can't find it. But of my notes, I think I said almost everything. Yeah, I would just say do it if you want your life back, whether you're because I don't know how many caregivers you have in the program. I don't know if you have a lot, but I can speak from a caregiver's perspective, or anyone, I guess. If you want your life back, you got to do the program. And if you don't want diabetes to take over your life, and you don't want to worry constantly about your loved one or about yourself, and you want someone who knows what they're doing about everything in diabetes, reach out to Matt, because you're a genuine person. you care, you're a dad, you're a father, you're a husband, you're type 1. Like you can relate to so many different people. And yeah, I mean, what a great thing for you. I mean, you get to change people's lives. I mean, how cool is that?
It's the best.
You must feel so good. Like you have changed. I've said this 1,000 times, Matt. You have literally changed our lives forever. And we will always be so appreciative of everything you've done for us because it's just so great. I'm really happy. I'm just really happy. And I really hope that everyone could do it. They could do your program. I know it's not like feasible for everybody, but I just really hope that those that can will, because for a 6-year-old little boy to do everything, every sport, football, soccer. I mean, we literally do every hike, travel. Like it doesn't stop us. Like people are always like, oh, diabetes, we can't do these things. I'm like, yeah, you can. You can do everything. And yeah, he eats healthy every day, but he can still go out and go to a kid's birthday party and participate like every other kid.
Love that. And actually, now that you're mentioning little Lucas, I know we were chatting beforehand, and before he ran out the door, he was on
Yeah.
wearing his little T-shirt. Is it cool if
Yeah.
I share a little screen grab for everybody watching?
Yeah.
I'll put it, let's see, in this corner of the video, so you guys can see Lucas.
I can't see it, right?
You can't see it right now. It'll be there after.
I don't know why I thought that. I don't know why I thought that.
No problem. But yeah, Lucas is amazing. Every once in a while, I remember just seeing him run around in the background of the coaching calls, and
oh yeah,
just incredible hearing these stories. I didn't know half these things about him just really experiencing life, and I want to really just drill this point home that it's a direct result of your efforts. And I want to say, like, yes, the program may have helped, give you the blueprint, but you put the work in, Kelly. You showed up consistently. You put all this effort in, and now you get to reap the rewards and the benefits. And I am just blown away by the love that you show for your son to put that work in. But of course, now that you get to have that peace of mind, start your own business and do your own thing, it's just incredible to hear. And I really do know that this is going to inspire a lot of people because of the work that you've done to see that there is a better life that can be lived. So thank you for sharing your story, but also for putting in that work and being that kind of person. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I don't know why it's so emotional, but it is.
It's a big life change. It's exciting stuff too. Like you said, this is like the best job ever. I get to help people transform their lives, and I have to do my best not to like break down in happy tears whenever I hear these stories, because it's just incredible hearing these. So yeah, truly, thank you for sharing your story. It was incredible watching your transformation and hearing the stories of Lucas's transformation as you're going through the program. And I can't wait to hear how things continue to improve and just and hear about the amazingness that lays ahead for you guys. So yeah. Anything else that you have to add in? I think we already asked that. So
don't have me. I could talk forever. I just want people to join the program because I want them to have a better life, because I don't want people to suffer with this disease anymore, because they don't have to.
Love that. Yeah, don't suffer because you don't have to. That's a great way to live life too. Well, thank you so much for your time, Kelly. I know that you got a lot going on, especially with 2 little ones. I only know what it's like to have 1 little one.
Yeah.
So. And she's not crawling yet, so we're good. She still stays put.
Just wait.
But, yeah, I know. I'm excited. But thank you for your time, Kelly. It really has been a pleasure chatting with you, and look forward to hearing about everything.
Thanks, Matt.
Absolutely. And to everybody watching, you're probably one of the people who's also watching a bunch of YouTube videos right now trying to figure out diabetes. So if you're looking for how Kelly found us and got on the phone with me, you can actually go to diabetesinaction.com. I think that's the place Kelly went to find our application. So yeah, go watch that. It's a free training to see what we're all about, to see kind of our methods behind diabetes management, what's new. So diabetesinaction.com. And Kelly, thank you again. You're amazing.
You too.
Cool to chat with you. Everybody else, thank you so much. Go watch that video and keep up the fight.